Amigos, we're back with another mega tutorial, and this one is on team logo reveal, FC Barcelona and Real Madrid. We're gonna be animating these logos, and there's a lot of tips, tricks, and technique all jam-packed in this tutorial. Consider it a mini crash course in After Effects. And remember that life is truly a gift. Make it count. The key to make this work is to download these team logos as a vector file so we can open in Illustrator. You can try a couple websites. Number one, Brands of the World, and you can see for Real Madrid, it's in here, and it's a Illustrator file, which is perfect. Another website is seeklogo.com. Here I found the FC Barca logo, and you can see that it's an EPS format. It's perfect. It's a vector format, and we can open EPS in Illustrator. And if you don't find it, you can just simply go to Google. For example, Manchester United logo vector, type that in, and down here you'll see the different websites where you can find the team logo as a vector format. The next step is to launch Illustrator, and let's open that vector format that we downloaded for the team logo. Go to Open, and let's go to Project Files, and this is the Illustrator file that we downloaded. Go to Open, and what we want to do is select the logo. In this case, it's all in layer 1. Go to Edit, Copy. Next, let's go to File, New, and we can go to Film and Video. If you want to work in 4K, you can work in 4K, but I will work in 1080. So it's 1920 by 1080. And let's go to More Settings. And for the transparency grid, let's go to Off, and let's create the document. Next, go to Edit, Paste. In my experience, it's a lot easier to create this Illustrator document the same size of your composition in After Effects. Makes life a lot easier. Okay, the key thing is to separate this logo into different layers. Let's go down here. And this little icon is to create new layers. So let's click to create new layers. And let's drill down. Let's go to our logo and let's drill down. And the first thing is, let's select all the layers that make up the crown. Let's scroll all the way down. And it'll be from here. And holding on to Shift. Let's hold on to Shift and click. And click and drag to layer 2. And let's double click. And let's label this layer crown. And if we hide it, here is our crown. The next one is the letters MFC. So let's go to these layers, click and drag into layer 3, and let's rename it to MFC. Next, let's select the layers for the outer circle. And let's rename this to outer circle. Next is the blue diagonal. So let's select these layers, click and drag to layer 4. Let's call it diagonal. And we can move it underneath MFC. And this layer, we can call it white circle. Okay, here it is. We have it in different layers. And now when we open in After Effects will read each individual layer. All we need to do is save it as a Illustrator file. Go to File, Save, and just give it a name. For example, you can say Real Madrid logo and hit Save. I'm running Creative Cloud CC 2020, so I'll leave it in Illustrator 2020. But feel free to go ahead and you can save it as a version that is backward compatible. Let me go ahead and let me show you the one that I did for the example. And I'll show you how I separated the logos for FC Barca. Let's go ahead and actually I did Real Madrid and Barcelona all in the same file. So let me go and hide the ones for Real Madrid. And let me hide all these layers and let's go one by one. So this is the first one. Then I have the cross, then the white area behind the cross, the red stripes, the yellow stripes, then this, the top part, the ball, these red stripes, the blue stripes, the bottom, the crest, and the crest in black. So these are the different layers that I used, but feel free to change it up however you want. And remember that when you open in After Effects, After Effects will read each of these layers individually. Amigos, we're in After Effects, and the first step is to import the Illustrator file that you just saved. Hit Control I or Command I if you're using an Apple computer. Locate your Illustrator file, and this is the file that I'm going to select, which is the original file that I used to create this demonstration. Hit Import, and After Effects is going to ask you if you want to import as a composition or as a footage. Select Composition, and for the dimension, select Layer Size. Hit OK. And After Effects created a comp, and in this folder are all the layers that we created in Illustrator. Let's double click on our composition. These are all the layers that we created in Illustrator in the exact same structure and the exact same name. You can see that I created both logos, Barça and Real Madrid, all in one file. So what I'm going to do is simply, for now, hide all the layers that pertain to the logo for Barcelona. So what I'm going to do is select this layer, scroll down, holding on to Shift, select the last one. Let's hide it. And I'm going to activate the Shy Guy for the layer. And we have Shy Guy for the timeline. And this hides it from the timeline so we can focus on the Real Madrid logo. Hit Control K or Command K to open the composition settings. And notice that the width is 1920 and the height is 1080 and is exactly the same size that we created in Illustrator. And this is the reason that we created this size in Illustrator, because After Effects reads it exactly the same size. It just makes life a lot easier. For the frame rate, let's select 23.976 frames per second. And for now, for the duration, give it a duration of 5 seconds long. And let's hit OK, and we're ready to animate this. First, let's go to this layer called BG, and if we zoom out, you can see that this is a vector layer with a solid color. Instead of using this, let's create a solid layer, Control Y, and let's sample the color. Hit OK, and let's rename it to BG Yellow. And we can go ahead and delete this BG vector layer. Let's zoom in and let's solo this. Let's color code it to yellow. Let's solo this and let's go to white circle. Let's solo this layer as well. Now, After Effects has a unique ability to convert vector layers into a shape layer. And that's what we're going to do with this vector layer. Since it's a circle, we can easily convert it into a shape layer. And to do that, let's right click, go to create shapes from vector layer. And you can see that After Effects created a shape layer. Let's rename it to white circle. Let's delete the white circle vector. And let's hide it. And let's go to circle. And we'll do the same thing for this circle. Let's convert it into a shape layer. Right click, create shapes from vector layer. Let's go ahead and click on the circle vector layer, hit delete to delete it. And for this one, let's drill down to the contents. And let's go to group 1. Now, group 1 is this inner circle. So let's rename it to inner circle. Group 2 is this outer circle. So let's rename it to outer circle. And group 3 is this yellow circle. So let's call it yellow circle. Now let's go back to our inner circle. And we have path 1, 2, and we have a merge path and a fill. What I'm going to do is select path 2, merge path, and fill, and let's delete it. And the reason that we're going to delete it is we just want a stroke. Go back to inner circle, and let's add the stroke. And let's bring the outer circle. And the reason that we're going to bring it is because we want to sample that blue color. So go to stroke and let's sample this blue color. Let's copy this hex code. Control C or Command C. Hit OK. And for the stroke width, let's make it 5. Now let's go to the outer circle and let's do the same thing. Path 2, merge path and fill. Let's delete it. Select outer circle and let's add a stroke. And for the stroke, let's make it 5. And the color, let's paste in the hex code, Control V or Command V, and it's this blue color. And for the yellow circle, what we'll do is we'll simply hide it for now because the yellow will be coming from the background. And you can see that this white circle, we need to scale it down. Hit S for scale. And let's just scale this down to 91. Let's start animating all of these individual layers. First, let's go to the circle outline and let's mute this layer. We'll come back to it later. Let's go to the white circle and let's zoom in on the timeline. And make sure that the current time indicator is at the very beginning at 000. Now for the white circle, we'll give it a very simple animation. We're going to scale it up. Click on the stopwatch for the scale. And let's move forward to frame 12 and let's add another keyframe. And this keyframe, hit F9 for easy ease. And let's go back to the first keyframe and let's make it 0%. And this is what we have. Very simple. Next, let's go to the circle outline. Let's solo this layer. What we'll do is we'll animate the stroke of this line, the inner one going clockwise and the outer one going counterclockwise. And to do that, we'll use a trim path. Let's drill down to contents. Let's drill down to inner circle. Make sure that inner circle is selected. Go to add and go to trim path. Let's drill down to trim path and we'll work with the end property. And you can see that it starts right here, but we want to move it all the way up here. And to do that, let's work with the offset. Let's move it to 90 degrees and move the current time indicator all the way to frame 6. And for the end, let's make it 0. Click on the stopwatch and let's move forward all the way to 1 second. And let's make this 100%. And let's add easy ease, F9. Okay, let's see what we have. Perfect. Now let's do the same thing, but for the outer circle. What we'll do is select the outer circle, go to add, trim path. Let's drill down and we'll make the start 100% and we'll work with the end. And again, we need to move this all the way up here. So go to the offset and let's move it 90 degrees. And let's move forward to frame 8. Go to the end and click on the stopwatch. Let's make it 100. Let's move forward to 102. And let's make this 0. And add easy ease. And let's check it out. Perfect. What we can do is at frame 6, since we started animating at frame 6, we can trim the endpoint, Alt left bracket to trim. Next, let's go to MFC. Let's solo this layer. And let's move the current time indicator to frame 12. Let's trim the endpoint, Alt left bracket. And if the keyboard doesn't work, you can always drag the edge of the layer. Hit S for scale and Shift R to open up the rotation property. And let's make this 75%. And let's rotate this minus 180. Click on the stopwatch to add a keyframe. And let's move forward all the way to 102. Let's make this 0. And for the scale, let's make it 100%. Select these keyframes and F9 for easy ease. And let's check it out. Nice. Okay, the next one is a diagonal. And for the diagonal, we want to do a reveal. And to do that, we'll be creating a map, an alpha map. And the easiest way is to select our white circle, make a copy, Control D or Command D. Let's move this layer above the diagonal and let's call it matte. Select the matte and the diagonal and let's color code it. Let's make it yellow. Select the matte and remember that this layer had keyframes. Hit U to reveal the keyframes and let's delete all the keyframes. Click on the stopwatch and let's change the color for now to black. And what we want to do is we want this, let's zoom in. We want it to match the edge of the diagonal. So let's make this bigger. Let's make it 86%. And that should work perfect. Select the diagonal and we'll be using the track matte. F4 is to activate a track matte. Select the drop down and choose alpha matte. Now, once we do this, we can select the diagonal and we can move it around and you can see it's inside that circle, this matte. Perfect. Let's undo. And what we'll do is at frame 12, let's trim these two layers. Select the diagonal, hit P for position, and click on the stopwatch. Let's go to 1 second. Let's add a keyframe. F9 for easy ease, and let's go back to the first keyframe. And let's move this diagonal outside, and let's check it out. So you can see that diagonal will slide in, and as it slides in, it's revealing. The last one is a crown layer, and we'll also do a reveal for the crown layer. At this point, we can unsolo all of these layers. Go to the crown, and we'll start at 1 second, Alt left bracket, and go to the matte. Let's make a copy, Control D or Command D, and let's move it up, and let's trim this layer as well. We'll select these two layers, color code to blue. And for the matte, let's unhide it, and let's scale it up all the way to 105. Select the crown, go to track matte, and instead of using alpha matte, we'll use alpha inverted matte. And now what we can do is hit P for position, click on the stopwatch, and let's go to frame 112. Again, let's add a keyframe, F9 for easy ease. And for this first keyframe, let's adjust the value on the y-axis. And you can see that since we have an alpha matte, we'll be able to pull off this reveal. And what we can do is go backwards 2 frames and let's shift this keyframe. Let's extend the endpoint. Let's check it out. Amigos, let's go to the timeline and let's make this bigger, full screen. Go to the global shy switch. Let's click on it to bring back all the layers for FC Barcelona. Select the layers, holding on to shift and click, and let's unhide it. And let's remove the shy switch for each of these layers. Okay, let's go back. And now we're going to do the transition between the Real Madrid logo and the FC Barcelona. Now, there is no right or wrong way to do this. It's simply using your imagination and your creativity. I'm simply going to show you some techniques that you can implement right away. Now, the duration for this composition is 5 seconds long. And let's extend it to 7 seconds. Hit Control K or Command K if you're using an Apple computer to open the composition settings. And let's change this from 5 to 7. Hit OK. Let's make this bigger. And let's move the out point for these edges. Let's drag it, or we can use a keyboard shortcut. First, move the current time indicator all the way to the end, and Alt right bracket to extend the out point for all the layers for FC Barcelona. You don't have to do it for Real Madrid. It's only for the FC Barcelona. Now, we'll animate all these layers one by one, and the first one is the ball. Hit Control Shift A to deselect all of them. And what we'll do is actually, let's hide the rest of these layers for now. And let's select the ball. Let's go to 212 and let's trim the endpoint of this layer right here at 212, Alt left bracket, and hit S for scale, and let's scale it up to 436. Now notice that the edges are jagged even though this is a vector layer, and that's because we need to tell After Effects, hey, this is a vector layer and treat it as a vector layer. And the way to do this is this little gear icon. You can see this gear, click on it, and now After Effects reads it as a vector layer. This is continuously rasterizing. Perfect. Now hit P for position and Shift R to bring up the rotation properties. And notice a value on the y-axis. It's 639. Keep that number in the back of your head because we'll go back to it. But for now, let's make it 630. And click on the stopwatch to create a keyframe. And let's move forward to 3 seconds. I'm going to zoom in for now. And let's move the current time indicator all the way to 3 seconds. Let's add keyframes. Select this pair of keyframes and F9 for easy ease. And let's go back to the first set of keyframes. Now select this keyframe for the rotation and let's make it -180. So we have it rotating. Okay. And then select the first set of keyframe for the position and let's move it along the x-axis. And let's check it out. We have this animation, but now we want it to reveal from the logo of Real Madrid. And we already did that. We did that for the crown. So what we'll do is simply go to the map for the crown, hit Control D or Command D, and let's bring it up right above the ball. Select these two layers. Let's color code it and select the ball layer. And with track matte, select alpha matte. And let's check it out. Now, right here at 3 seconds, we can trim the layers for Real Madrid. So let's select the layers except for the crown because we'll animate the crown going down. So select MFC all the way down to white circle and let's trim the out point, Alt right bracket. Now, if you're having issues with this keyboard shortcut, know that you can always drag the edges. Let's check this out. Perfect. Now at 3 seconds, let's go to the crown layer, hit P for position, click to make a keyframe, and Control click to change it to a regular keyframe. And let's move this to 312. And let's adjust the value on the y-axis. Select this keyframe and give it an easy ease out. Control Shift F9. And let's check it out. Okay, perfect. Now what we can do is go to the layers for Real Madrid. Let's click on the switch set for the Shy Guy and let's make it global so we can hide these layers. Now the next thing is, let's go ahead and let's wipe it with a solid blue color that represents one of the colors for FC Barcelona. And what we'll do is we'll sample a color. Let's go down to this layer, bottom blue lines. It is these blue stripes. So let's create a solid layer, Control Y or Command Y, and we can sample this color, make it comp size, hit OK, and let's rename it to BG Blue. And what we'll do is we'll move this layer right above the BG Yellow. Let's change the color to blue. And let's go to 212, trim the endpoint, Alt left bracket, hit P for position, click on the stopwatch to add a keyframe, and let's go forward all the way to 306. Let's add a keyframe and give it an easy ease, F9. Let's go back to the first keyframe And let's adjust the value on the x-axis. Let's move it, and let's move it so it's out of frame right here. And let's check it out. We can go ahead and hide these blue stripes. And you can see that it's hiding the crown. So let's go back to our crown layer. And we need to move this BG blue right above our BG yellow. Let's go back. Perfect. Now, what we can do is we haven't gone into the graph editor much in this tutorial. Let's just do it once. Grab these, select these keyframes. Let's go to the graph editor. Let's make sure that you're in the speed graph, and we can select this handle, and let's just move the influence. It'll start very fast, then immediately slow down. So let's go back and let's check it out. It's a little bit too fast, so let's go back and let's just make it a little bit less. Okay. Perfect. Go back to the Shy Guy, click on it so we hide these layers. Let's go back to the ball. And at 312, let's scale it down to the original size. Hit Shift S to bring up the scale property. Click on the stopwatch. Let's go to 320. Let's add a keyframe. And let's make it 100. Add easy ease. And let's go back. And for the position, let's add a keyframe. Hit Control, click to change it to a regular keyframe. And go to 320. And remember that number that I said at the beginning, 639? Let's click on it. And this is what we have. Perfect. So you see that it goes down. And we can add easy ease. Now the next step is to bring back the crest. So let's bring back these layers for the crest. We'll bring the crest black, the yellow, and this bottom portion. What we'll do is select these layers. Let's unsolo it. And let's pre-comp it. Pre-compose. And let's call it crest. Hit OK. And let's go to 312. Okay, what we want to do is we want this to reveal from the middle. And to do that, hit Control R to reveal the rulers. Let's zoom in. Let's go to our info panel. And let's zoom in again. And let's create a guide right at 960. Right there. Perfect. What we can do is just make sure that you have Snap to Guides turned on. Let's create a solid layer, Control Y. Let's make it black. Comp size. Let's rename it to matte. And let's go to the rectangle tool and let's create this mask. Select these two layers. Let's color code it. And let's go to 312. Trim the endpoint, Alt left bracket. Go to the crest, and using track matte, select alpha matte. Okay, what we need to do is hit P for position, click on the stopwatch, and let's move forward to 4 seconds. Let's add a keyframe, F9 for easy ease, and let's go back to the first keyframe. And what we want to do is adjust the value on the x-axis. Let's move it this way. And what we'll do is, it starts at 960, but do this, 960 plus 300. Perfect. And check this out. We'll select these two layers, Control D or Command D, and this will be the other half. What we'll do is instead, we'll change it to alpha inverted and hit P for position. And this will be 960 minus 300. And let's check it out. Perfect. Okay. The next layer that we want to work with is the FCB, Football Club Barcelona. And let's bring this layer right above. Let's move it and let's put it right above here, right above the crest. And let's trim the endpoint of this layer right here, Alt left bracket, and hit S for scale. Click on the stopwatch And let's move forward to 4 seconds. Let's add a keyframe and easy ease. Let's go back to the first keyframe, select it, and let's change the scale to 25. So it's a simple scale, amigos. We're simply scaling this text up. There you go. Okay, let's go to the next one, and we'll work with the bottom red stripes. Let's go to this red lines. Let's actually make it red. Let's bring it back. And what we'll do is this black portion, we'll use that as a track matte. What we can do is let's go back to this pre-comp that we created. And this bottom part, let's copy it. Let's copy this layer. You can close this. And let's just paste it. Control V or Command V. And let's move it up. Let's make it red as well. And let's rename it and let's call it matte. Let's move the current indicator all the way to 406. Let's trim these layers right here at 406. Alt left bracket. Select bottom red lines, and using track matte, select alpha matte. Now, we're going to adjust the position. Hit P for position. Click on the stopwatch. And let's go forward to 416. Let's add a keyframe. F9 for easy ease. And let's go back to the first one. And this one will adjust the value on the y-axis. Let's move this down. And this is what we have. So it's going to go up. And now let's work with the blue lines. Let's make this blue. And again, we'll use the same matte. Control D or Command D. Let's move it right above the blue lines, and we can change the color to blue. Let's unhide the blue lines. And what we'll do is alpha matte as well. At 416, select the blue lines and the matte. Alt left bracket for the endpoint. And select only the blue lines. P for position. Let's add a keyframe. Click on the stopwatch and let's go forward to 5 seconds. Let's add a keyframe. Easy ease for F9. Let's go back. Now what we'll do for this is adjust the value on the x-axis. Let's just move this right here so it's hidden, or it's hiding right behind the red lines. And we'll get this. Okay, so the ball disappears. We need to move the ball right above. Let's go to the ball layer. Let's select the ball. Actually, the ball, this matte, we need to extend this matte all the way so we can see the ball. Perfect. So let's check it out again. Nice. Now let's work with the top portion. This border top, let's bring it back. And let's go back to 320. Let's trim this layer right here, the endpoint, alt left bracket. And again, we'll be using a matte, but we'll use the same layer as a matte. Hit Control D or Command D. Let's rename it to matte. Select these two layers and let's color code to orange. Select only the border top. Go to the track matte, select alpha matte. Hit P for position. Click on the stopwatch. Let's go to 406. Let's add a keyframe and hit F9 for easy ease. And let's go back to the first one. And very simple, just move it down on the y-axis. So we're using the same image as an alpha matte. Okay, now let's go to the yellow stripes. Let's bring it back. Let's make it yellow. Let's go to 4 seconds and trim the endpoint right here at 4 seconds. And we'll use this black portion again as a matte. Control D or Command D. Let's move it up. Let's also make it yellow. And let's also trim the endpoint at 4. Alt left bracket. Select the yellow stripes. Choose alpha matte. Hit P for position. Click on the stopwatch. And let's go to 412. Let's add a keyframe. Easy ease. Let's go back to the first one. And this first keyframe will adjust the value on the y-axis. Let's just move it down. And let's check it out. Perfect. And next we'll go to the red stripes. Let's make this red. We'll use the same mat, Control D or Command D. Let's move it up. Let's make this red. Red stripes. And we'll choose Alpha Matte again. And we'll do the opposite of the yellow. The yellow are coming up, so the red will come down. We'll start at 404. And select these two layers. Let's trim the in point. And red stripes. Hit P for position. Click on the stopwatch. Let's go all the way to 416. Let's add a keyframe. And let's add Easy Ease. Go back to the first. And let's move it up on the y-axis. And let's check it out. Perfect. The last one is the cross. Let's go to the cross layer. Let's change the color to green. And let's move this to 404. Let's trim the endpoint right here at 404. Hit S for scale. Click on the stopwatch. And let's go to 412. And let's add a keyframe. And let's add Easy Ease. Let's go back to the first keyframe and we'll make this 0. All we're doing is a simple scale. And let's bring this layer back so you can see it. Let's unhide it. Simple scale. And the last one is this white portion right here. And let's change the color. And what we'll do is we'll simply animate or pop each section 1, 2, 3, and 4. And to do that, let's go to 412. We can trim this layer at 412. Let's make a copy, Control D. Go to 414, trim this layer. Let's make another copy. Let's go to 416. Let's trim this layer, the endpoint, and one last copy, Control D. Let's move forward to frame 418 and let's trim the endpoint. Let's go to the first layer. And what we'll do for the first layer is let's create a mask just to show the first one. Let's go to the second one. We'll create a mask to see both of them. Let's go to the third one. This third one, let's do this and one for here. And the last one, we don't need a mask because it's all 4 sections. And that is it, amigos. Let's check it out now. Let's see how this looks. Let's go back. Let's check this out. See how it looks. Hopefully this gave you a lot of ideas what you can do in your very own projects. Thank you for watching, and remember that life is truly a gift. Make it count.